Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and I hope you're all doing great. I'm going to show you a nice miniature from the 6th round of the Dortmund Sparkassen Chess Tournament. This game is played between Nepomniachtchi and Liviu-Dieter Nisipeanu, and it features an interesting sideline in the Petrov defense. So without further ado, let's jump into this game. Nepo had white pieces and he opened with e4, and we see the Petrov defense. So here Nisipeanu played queen to e8. An interesting decision to go for this sideline. A notable game played in this line was between Luke McShane and Daniel Friedman, where Black's main idea was to meet Castle's queenside by positioning his queen on a4. And this ends up being a race on both sides of the board. So in that game between McShane and Friedman, Black ended up with a winning attack. So how did Nepo react to this? He played the move h4, and h4 is a novelty. So Nepomniachtchi rejected castling queenside, queen a4. By the way, this was the continuation from the game between McShane and Friedman. Although the engines think that white is slightly better in this position, this looks like a decent position for Black, especially when he can point his bishops towards white's king. So Nepomniachtchi did not want Nisipeanu to have such chances, so he opted for h4, queen a4, and h5. So I think this was a good decision by Nepomniachtchi, since he is the one who is kind of controlling the game now. So Black has to react by blocking with h6, and bishop d3, just a good developing move, pointing towards the king. So rook to e8 from Nisipeanu, and Nepo steps out of the open file, king f1. Bishop drops back to give some extra protection to the king. And now knight d4. And this is a nice move by Nepo. Already Black is on tight ropes. With knight d4, Nepo is simply bringing another piece into the attack with tempo, as bishop b5 is a threat. And if the knight can position itself on f5, white will have a pretty dangerous attack. So this could be achieved with ideas like rook h4 and knight f5 with a discovery on the queen. So knight d4 also allows white the idea of pushing g4, potentially g5, since with the knight on f3, queen takes g4 and bishop takes g4 would come with an attack on the knight on f3. But now it's possible to push g4. So for example, if c6, which tries to prevent bishop e5, then g4 gives white a pretty promising attack. So obviously taking would be very dangerous because it opens up the file. So Nisipeanu decided to retreat his queen to meet the threat of bishop b5, since the queen no longer served its purpose on the queen side, and it can also help to defend the king. But it feels clumsy as it blocks the bishop on c8, and Nepo took advantage immediately with the move rook h3, which wasn't possible before because of this bishop controlling the square, but now it is. And you can see that white's forces are nicely positioned against the black king. So the margin for error is now getting slimmer for Black. He is behind in development and his pieces are kind of awkward. So in this position, the computer suggests the move queen to d8 for Black, which doesn't seem like a move a human would play, but it frees up the bishop to cover the square on f5, just potentially covering this knight jump. And after rook g3, the purpose of queen d8 is that it allows, well, it threatens queen h4 and queen h1 check in some cases, which will give Black some time to develop his pieces. as white will most likely have to play a move like king g1. But here, instead of going queen d8, which doesn't seem very natural, Nisipeanu played knight c6, a more natural looking move, but this is an inaccuracy. Now, if white were to play knight f5, well, black can play knight e5, try and exchange off this bishop and lessen the attack. So instead, we see rook g3, a good move from Nepo, taking aim at the king. So why was knight c6 an inaccuracy? Well, it allows white to take advantage of this awkward queen on d7. So here it was crucial to try and untangle with queen d8 or queen e7 to give black the option of queen h4, some hope to try and defend its position, but instead we see king to h8 from Nisipeanu. So for example, if black would have gone queen to d8, after bishop takes h6, queen h4, king g1, something like this, where black is a bit worse but still surviving. But instead king h8 from Nisipeanu, Nepo took the knight on c6, and he played bishop to d4, threatening the dangerous queen takes h6 because of the pin. Black's pieces are too uncoordinated to react properly in this situation. Nisipeanu tried rook e6. You can of course try to win some material with bishop f5, but Nepo plays the even stronger queen to f4 with the very simple threat of queen f5 and queen h7 mate. So queen to e8 from Nisipeanu, so hoping for queen f5, he can play rook e1 check. So the ending is better for white, but it is not losing immediately for Nisipeanu. Of course, Nepo saw this and he played rook to e3, which is a brilliant move, and the game ended in resignation. So the black rook is overloaded trying to defend h6. The threat is simply to play rook takes rook, queen takes rook, and rook to e1. Possible continuation would be king g8, queen f5, threatening mate. And with the other rook coming over to e1 and the pressure of the two bishops, this is going to be too much for black to handle. So a nice game from Nepomniachtchi. Unfortunately for Nisipeanu, the opening went somewhat wrong for him. I hope you enjoyed this game. If you want to see more chess videos, feel free to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching.